Welcome back to Persephone Says. I am so excited for this guest to finally be here. He is the man who taught me all of the things in my life, my bestest friend, confidant, CFO, CDO, Chief Daddy Officer, and all of the things. Dad, welcome to the podcast.
It's a pleasure and a privilege indeed.
Have you been caught up on all of my episodes?
Most of them. I think you're dropping them faster than I have time to pick them up. But hey, it's a true learning experience. Let's just say that. I started listening and out of curiosity a little bit. And
were you worried I was going to talk any shit?
I knew you were going to question. I mean, come on.
Actually, you're like an OG podcaster.
Yeah, remember I did do that before
it was a thing.
Yeah, before it was a thing, 2011, 2012. Mm-hmm. And actually it was 13 years plus 3 weeks when you were on my show.
I remember. In
Coral Gables 3 days before your wedding.
Yeah, but we don't have to cry about that just yet, I promise. I'll make you cry a bunch on that. That, I can assure you, we will be crying on this episode.
Try me.
Okay.
I ain't gonna.
I made my own husband. And Roman choked up a bunch. Laurent did not choke up yet.
Oh.
It takes a bit. Well, I think we should roll it back because it's very interesting. So my dad is an immigrant to this country, and I would love for you to tell your story because I think you're desensitized as your kid.
Yeah.
When I would hear you say, I came here at 18, blah, blah. Like, I've heard this story maybe 100 times, but it really didn't fully set in until I started to understand at those exact ages that you were going through certain things that like, holy shit, that was really, really hard. Or even later in business, when we were going through similar things at this age and you were at the exact same age in your own business, like I think about those things and the different levels of support and such. And so there's so many different places where this conversation has the propensity to go. But I think for today's conversation, I want you to share your story and we're going to go therapy and then we're going to zig and zag.
Wherever it takes us.
Okay. So for the first time ever, I will do my best to not interrupt you, which might be hard.
Don't promise to.
Okay.
Let's just say, picture it.
Right.
Greece, 1976.
Okay.
It was August 27, 1976, when I arrived to the States. It will be 49 years this year, and it's kind of mind-blowing in itself. And I had made my decision to leave the country sometime around the age of 14 or 15.
Why?
That's a very good question. 2 reasons. 3 maybe, but I'll compact them into 2. Number one was that I had been fortunate enough to go to visit places outside of Greece because my father used to travel, and of course I was his appendage, and I will obviously go with him.
But not to the U.S.
No. Only in Europe. The U.S. was this faraway place that the only thing I knew about the U.S., even when I was told that it was coming, was Hawaii 5-0 and Kojak. Who Loves You, Baby? So
I don't know what that is, Dad.
You shouldn't.
I don't know either, if I'm being completely honest.
These are circa 1970s.
Okay.
Serials on American television that were broadcast.
We're gonna have to flash it up in
in Greece. And so Hawaii 5-0 was a detective, Mannix.
Okay.
And Kojak was Telly Savalas.
Okay. And so who the fuck any of these?
They're all dead now.
Okay.
But anyway, that was the thing.
Okay.
So to me, it was big cars, and one was in San Francisco and New York, and the other, of course, in Hawaii, and guns and violence.
Okay.
That was the prevailing thing, and so
nothing's changed.
No, nothing changed. The reason that I wanted to leave Greece was because I absolutely knew that there was a lot more outside the country than inside it, and there was also the big thing that it's hard to erase from a 10-year-old's mind, that there was a military junta that had taken over when I was 10 years old. And I remember in my bed hearing throughout the night the chains of the tanks rolling through the city, the streets of the city, and also for months, almost a year or so, not being able to really congregate with your friends because there was martial law, and no more than two people could walk together unless they were your parents or a sibling or something like that. So it was, it was an oppressive place, and I lived in a very patriarchal family that had I stayed in Greece, I would have had to be either a doctor, or if I didn't get into medical school, I'd have to work for my father, and that wasn't happening. And so I announced it. Talk about mindless, ballsy little kid.
I'm like, so ballsy. But now I know, I've always known where I've gotten it from.
Right. But I was 15 or 16 that I said, I will go to university outside of here. Where? God knows. But outside of here.
Right.
And so the big places were Italy, which was frowned upon because for no real reason, but Greeks and Italians.
Right, yeah.
Some of the then Eastern Bloc countries had gotten smart and started to take in students from Greece. And again, it was Germany and the UK. And I had an aunt, first cousin of my father's, that lived in the UK. And so at least I would know one human being in a country of 57 million.
Sure. And so that one, because you knew the one you exited out?
That's it. So, it was all go for the UK. And in fact,
I actually didn't know this.
Yeah. I was about to enter the British Council, which was the place that you learned the language. Oh, did I forget to say that I did not speak a word of English?
Okay.
Actually, then my German was of better quality than my English. And the only thing I remember in German is how to count from 1 to 10.
Which maybe you've forgotten by this point.
Maybe.
Okay.
So one day, my father comes home and he asks me how I would like to go to the United States. And I said, sure, what's there? Now, all of a sudden, all I can think of is I have an uncle and two cousins who live in Troy, New York. And now I know 3 people out of a country of 300 million.
Which is,
it's all in the numbers.
Yeah.
1 in 58 million, 3 in 300 million.
Right.
You do the math.
Right.
And so it was, I'm going to the Kojak and Hawaii 5-0 country. Here I am.
But how did you start doing the research to figure out okay, I'm going to go do this?
No. My deal with my father when I had said that I am going out is I'm going to let you go out wherever it is that you are going to go within reason and limits, his, not mine, that you will spend a year to get yourself into college. And at the end of that year, you either come back with a piece of paper that says, I've gotten myself into college, or you come work for me. That wasn't happening.
Like lighting your ass on fire.
It's a tough thing, but there is nothing like a little fire under your butt to make you run.
Totally.
And then it becomes part of your being. And there were some, just to finish that circle, I ended up, he had found an exchange student organization.
He found it?
He found it.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. He found it. In fact, the president of that organization was a very high sitting official at Citibank, which was the bank that he did business with at the time. And so his son was going, and there was this group going called Youth for Understanding. And so I basically, I don't know why I got accepted, because part of that was that you speak English. You spent a year in the United States in high school, because it was a high school exchange program. Now, I had just graduated high school in Greece, but I ended up with 10 words of English and a high school diploma coming to the United States and enrolling in a senior class, attending and taking a full course
in English. Okay, and can you share how you learned English once you got here?
That was a challenge too. So every kid was supposed to live with a family that was an English-speaking family, and that's part of how they were going to Americanize themselves. And so my good luck, in quotes, it turned out to be good and bad at the same time. I was placed with a Greek-American family, but the reason they wanted me there was so that I teach their kids English, Greek rather, as opposed to me learning English, and speaking English in the at home was very much frowned upon. And each time I tried to speak, I was chastised about how heavy my accent was, and nobody will ever understand me, and how would I expect to get into college, and so on and so forth.
Super supportive. Yeah.
But I figured, well, one child was 5 years old, the other one was 3. I was babysitting both of them, and I was introduced to Sesame Street.
I'm like, okay. Yeah, keep going.
They watched Sesame Street, and so did I. And believe me, it was the first time that I actually saw the syllables, the letters being put together, separated syllable to syllable, pronounced each syllable separately, and then the whole word. Right. And your ear and and I'm a very visual person, so
connects things.
It was liberating. To get to that point, but I had to get to that point. And to get to that point, I had to get in college. And those were the nights that were sleepless.
Were you scared? Honestly.
Was I scared? I was scared of the disappointment because I knew what was going to happen at the other end. I was not going to go back to Greece a failure.
Well, no.
And so, and going back to Greece and seeing my family and the extended family, because again, Greece was at the time much more so than it is now, all about what are the people going to say?
Of course.
Who gives a shit about what the people are going to say? It's what it is that you do. But anyway, I came from that fabric, and I had to go back into that fabric and could not face parents, siblings, anyone not having achieved what I came here to achieve. And there were some dicey times. I mean, there comes a point where, you do everything you can, the best you know how, however small or large that is. Right. But you don't know if it's good enough. And you want to know that. And there was a day, I think I've shared that story with you. This was maybe March or so before April 15, when, besides taxes, it was at the time the cutoff point where all universities kind of sent their acceptance or rejection letters out. And so there were few nights that I could actually sleep, because I would stay up thinking of what I was going to do. Anxious, and it was not like I could stay here longer, because I was on a special visa with a departure time and a departure air ticket. And not being able to sleep, I was kind of going through all of that. Somehow I fell asleep. The next day, I caught myself being euphoric. Had no reason to be, and I couldn't understand why, and learned or remembered later that I had a dream. And in that dream, I had a dream. And in that dream, I saw myself going through that ticket. And the ticket was the reverse of the ticket that I had come here. And that was Athens, Brussels, New York. So I would have to go New York, Brussels, then Athens. Problem solved. I'll get lost in Brussels.
For real?
For real. I had no qualms about it. I would leave the airport in Brussels. Where I would go, I have no idea, but I will not board the flight to Greece.
Well, I think when I think about all of that, because at 18, how much money did you come here with?
$300.
$300.
For a year.
For a year.
Mm-hmm.
And there was no email?
Nope.
Were you like using calling cards?
No calling cards at the time, but you could call collect, which was at the time something like $3 a minute.
Okay. Were you working when you were in school, in high school?
Yeah. No.
Not in high school.
Not in high school. You could visa would not allow you to. Well, I couldn't work outside of the house, but believe me, I worked plenty in the house.
I'm sure.
Yeah. So it was all good experience. It didn't feel that way at the time, but it kind of allowed me to test myself and see what it is that I can do.
Yeah, it's what builds your resilience and your. I believe that you have intrinsic motivation, and the environment is a big contributor.
Very
right?
much so.
And I am excited for everyone to hear that piece of this, because I think, in contrast, I think about myself at 18 years old, and I went to college like down the street from you because the umbilical cord was strong. Not with my mother, but with my dad. And I would call you every day, multiple times a day, texting multiple times a day. I mean, like, the level of support on every decision that I was making as a senior in high school. Well, I was 17 in high school, but 18 in college, like, there were no decisions that I made that I didn't run by my most trusted advisor, you.
Right. You did. And I felt very fortunate to be able to be in a place where I had the knowledge to advise you.
Sure.
My parents neither had graduated high school. I was not for lack of trying, but because of the war.
Right, of course.
And so I became the first person to graduate high school in the family. I'm the oldest of three. My parents could not advise me because they didn't know anything to advise me on.
Right.
But that, unfortunately, now go back to the old family and what people are going to say and everything else, that actually works even worse than if you have somebody not advising you at all, because what they advised me on was what they had heard of others.
Right.
And so the big thing was, are you into drugs? Are you in trouble with the law? Are you in medical school yet?
Right.
What do you mean there is a 4-year college and then medical school? Here, it's 6-year medical school. Well,
it's pretty, but that sounds like a very lonely.
Oh, it was lonely.
Place.
It was lonely.
And I think about that often, especially as time and space continued, right? As you stayed in this country. And I'm going to fast forward a little bit. So, you stayed in this country, obviously, didn't have to return, thankfully. That's why I'm here. And started to build roots here. The connective tissue, or again, that like advisory board of one or two, like.
Well, yeah, you become your own advisor.
Right.
Because one of the most depressing times in my life early on was because I got to a level where I had exhausted my knowledge of what's possible. Because what's possible here has nothing to do with what's possible in Greece. There, it's a linear line. And if you're lucky enough, you go from one step to the next, and then you go somewhere. Here, it's very dynamic. It's the exact opposite. But how would you appreciate it if you don't know it exists? Right. And that's where I was. Right. The position that I took was that a year and a half, no, 2.5 years into it. So I was at the very beginning of my sophomore year. I announced to my parents that I'm not returning to Greece ever.
So that went over really great.
Lead balloons all over the place. And the reason for that was because it was very obvious to me that what I was studying and what I had invested in myself in the previous 2.25 years, I could never recoup that investment in a lifetime in Greece.
So, and again, I think and have thought more about your upbringing in the past 7, almost 8 years since I've had my boys, because, I mean, there's exactly 30 years between us. And so it's easy for me to graph it out almost. And when I think about our relationship and how unusual it has always been considered to, and unconventional, frankly, it's always been considered to anybody that has ever met us, frankly, that became even more paramount when I made the decision to live with you.
Yes.
Right? And the decisions as a parent became only yours pretty much at that point. I mean, they had basically been the entire time, but truly, there was no other voice in the room that you needed to really counter, right? And so I think about that because for a number of different reasons, that was such an important inflection point in my life because I made that decision at 11, but also because of my mother and how things had played out. Therapy was introduced to me by you at 7. And I think about that because obviously my boys are 7. And in our house, we talk about it openly, as you know. And I think you were also in therapy probably at that time, as well. And that was not something that anyone was talking about in the 90s. And sure as hell not going to talk about it to your family home in Greece. So there was just all these things that put you into more and more of a box where you're less relatable to your family, which is very confusing. Very confusing place to be, while you're also simultaneously now raising a kid on your own with no kite to tie you to anyone else, or again, advisory board who could really give you sound tangible advice. And so I'm just curious to understand how clearly there's a little bit of tension with some of the comments you've made about what your dad expected of you. And we'll dive into that. But what was it that, as you had more parental control, if that makes sense, that you were I'm going to do things my way?
Yeah.
Cue Frank Sinatra.
Yeah, cue Frank Sinatra. Regrets, I've had a few.
I was
So it's a loaded question, a very good one. But here's the thing. Did I feel disconnected from my family? No. I didn't feel disconnected from them because in an emotional sense, I knew they were always there and that I could pick up the phone and talk to them.
Yeah, you were loved and supported from a love perspective.
Exactly. Yeah. Too much almost, put on a pedestal at times, which is a very uncomfortable place to be. But it was very obvious to me that what I was dealing with here, no one could advise me in Greece because no one had been through a divorce. Right. No one raised a child on their own.
Wait, right there. When you said you were getting divorced, what was the response?
It was accepted, but not necessarily favorable. Why was that happening? And there were just too many things to get into, and none of those would have been helpful to them or to me. I simply said that we grew apart and we had different ways of seeing at things, primarily of seeing how a child should be raised. a child should not be raised a bigot. A child should not be raised in a way that I was raised or any other parent my age was raised, especially from immigrant parents, because every generation carries the baggage.
Sure.
And this is not a knock on anybody. I sure as hell am carrying a pretty big load, as everyone else.
Everybody does.
Everybody does. But you must modernize yourself.
Sure.
You must become updated, and you must think that what worked or didn't work or was done to me 30 years earlier, it's highly unlikely to be done to this person. That person being you or any child. The other part of that was that I loved the fact that you exhibited the ability to voice your opinions and support them.
Shocking as that might be.
And I was always the person that actually sat back there, and while at times you want to wring somebody's neck.
Somebody?
The person in front of me, because now they're doing something.
I love you, but I don't like you, had Ben said to me.
Yeah. But that was later.
It was the teenage years.
I'm talking about early on where you were 4 or 5, and you and I will have outings to go out and get an ice cream together. And I never factored in your age as you don't need to know that. Now, if you went to a place where it was not necessarily something you must know, and you sure as hell asked those questions, then obviously I would have to pull the fatherly.
Sure.
But I think what I meant to say is that you have, as a parent, you have a choice to do what you want, to do what your parents did, which is always a place where you go and draw experience from.
Right.
Or what I did was both. I kept the good stuff and the stuff that was done to me that I knew then I didn't like.
Right.
And I knew then it did not get me any better. If anything, it pissed me off and made me do the opposite thing.
Right.
Then if that didn't work on me, why would it work on you?
Right.
And so.
Yeah, I think what's interesting, because obviously I do a lot of analysis on my upbringing and how we're so conscious on all the things that we do with our boys, and we analyze it to death and like analyze it again and again. I think, what you are saying is you were, to talk therapy speak for a second, breaking generational,
divides.
Yeah.
You must.
Right. And I think that one thing I learned from you was I didn't understand that. Like when you would say things like this, because you have said things like this to me in the past, what I found until basically I had kids, you kept a lot in, and you are, as talkative as this man is, he actually you don't go layers deeper unless you are probed and in the right mood.
No, it's not that. The layers.
You're in the right setting.
Or in the right setting.
Like an onion.
True. Guilty as charged. But here's the thing. I don't find any value in just dumping on something or someone just because I can.
Sure.
So would it have served a purpose, especially when you were younger, for me to share certain things about my own upbringing or my relationship with my parents, especially my father? Would that have made a difference to you? Right. Not until you were a parent.
Right. I mean, I could see it and remember calling it out as a kid, because kids, we give them, I don't think, enough credit.
Absolutely not.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's something you taught me. You were like, they know exactly what the hell is going on here, especially, when they outed Juliana on my mom's situation and all of those things. Like, they read the room and they read energy. So I remember that about your dad. But I remember you started to share, again, when severely probed, things that had happened with you and your dad, that I had literally like a gap of knowledge. Like, for me, it was like, do I even know this person? Because, and then I realized every time I called you, and of course, like, kids are selfish and they're always gonna like me until you realize, like, how are you? And then you start asking more poignant questions, right? And I remember you started to like breadcrumb things that were bothering you that I think were exacerbated by seeing, like, you had then like lapped yourself, or you were remembering things when Eddie and I got married. Like, how did your dad behave in that moment? When we had kids, certain ways in which you engaged with us versus, and like, that was like bringing out conversation that had literally never been spoken. And I trapped you in the car. I remember
Yep, I remember.
I was like, what the fuck is going on here?
Yeah, and it was an interesting time, and it was a time that never really dawned on me until it started somewhere around you being in college and graduating college, and the 2 years after that till you got married, because it was the first time in life, mine and yours, that I was the age my father was in similar situation, and you were the age that I was in that situation. And so now there's like, a perfect contrast.
Right.
And you see those things and you say, and like I said before, I've had this conversation with you, I've had it with Eddie, I've had it with multiple people. You may not always remember the good things that were done to you, but you always remember the bad things that were done to you.
For sure.
And the things that really hurt. I mean, if somebody told you something you didn't like, who gives a damn? But when somebody said things or did things to you that should not have been done or should have been done the opposite way, you Can you be
specific? The BMW.
Well, that came later.
But it's a good example.
Yeah. So this is now, you were what, 4 or 5 years old or something like that. And I remember still living in Germantown. And I had started my first company and had done pretty well. So I had traded my first car and got a new BMW 500 series. This is 1991, 2, something like that.
You don't have to date me in the process.
No, you were not born.
Right. Thank you.
So, and I remember, and of course, anything and everything I ever did, the first thing I did was call my father to tell him what I had done.
Right.
Just like you do every time.
Every single time.
So, and it's a source of pride, and it's like, you don't want the other boy, but you want to hear that.
But you do. It's like, I'm proud of you is what you want to hear.
Yes. I didn't hear that until 6 months before he died. That's, and that's worth a whole episode in itself. But
No, this is exactly what I want to, you see? Like that, when you don't have that, then you have to, it's like you have to continue to ignite from within because it's not going to come from anywhere else.
Right. And when you stop that, when you don't get it, one of two things have to happen. You may say, fuck it, I don't give a damn. Or you may say, he doesn't know well enough.
Sure.
Or you may find some kind of combination.
Sure.
Whatever it is.
Sure.
I would hear from both of my siblings and my mom that he would always wax poetically about me and what it is that I did and what it is that I didn't do and so on and so forth. But to me, he was always critical. And every time that I would try to tell him something about me, he will counter by bringing my sister or my brother's accomplishments into that. And it's like, I'm
That's
happy
great.
for them.
Yeah.
And I know, I mean, I'll cheer them on
Sure.
as I have in the past. But did you hear what I said?
Right.
And so I recall it was 1999, summertime, where I had brought them here for a major health tune-up, as my brother called it. And they were here for something like a month and a half, maybe longer. And so he and I are sitting in the pool, by the pool, in the house in Virginia. And he kind of looked over his shoulder, and he was looking at the size of the house and who was in the house and what was in the house and everything else. And he told me that he was proud of me. He was proud of me because of what I had accomplished financially. But I was the same person that left Greece. No, I'm going to hold it. I'm going to hold it. Thank you. And that is what bothered me, because while the good part is that I heard it. He could have taken it with him, and he died 6 months later. I'm thankful that I heard it from his mouth. But I wish he had shared some of that earlier during the steps that took to get there, because I didn't go from 0 to 100 overnight.
Right.
Maybe I did it faster than most, but
You did.
That's when I needed the support.
Right. When you shared that with me, I also drew a parallel where I also, though I got all of that from you, I never, ever got it from my mom. But it does something to you when you're like, and for me, I'm an only child. So I'm like, what else do you have to congratulate? Like, the fuck, right?
Well, yeah.
And so I was sharing a very similar experience, because I, in more formative years was saying like, I mean, I really pulled myself up and out and did really great in high school and really studied and worked my fucking ass off in college and worked so hard when I first bought my first really like big girl car and would do the same thing, like hoping and would never get it, because for the same exact reasons that have nothing to do with me or you, and everything to do with that person inside.
With that person. And that person, in your case and in mine, was in my case, a deeply depressed individual who had some serious issues growing up. He never knew his real father, his biological father.
Right.
Grew up with a stepfather who loved him, and who that the biggest honor in Greek culture you can give someone is to name a child after that individual, and I am named after his stepfather. That is unheard of.
Complete. I mean, the stepfather part also is.
Yeah, my grandmother, I'm sure, would joke that she was probably the first woman in Greece to get divorced.
Maybe. So, of course, you're taking a page out of her book.
Whatever. But he was not a loved person as a child. He had no childhood. And you have to put that into the equation.
But that's what I was saying to you, is that it hit me in that conversation for the first time a couple things, which is, and I showed you this earlier today, I love Mel Robbins, and I played this clip about like how you can't change, you can only change someone up until a certain point, and they have to want to change, right? But also, if you are the oldest child or an only child, this is the first time your parents are being parents. And so there's no roadmap, there's no book. And if you're lucky, you have an advisory board, but depending on your upbringing depends on what your advisory board is or isn't. And so you just said all the things that like make you can give you context. And for me, with my own mother, I can see her as like an individual, and I have empathy for the fact that she, like, I don't know her childhood really, but I do remember moments of her being incredibly depressed, and I can understand like this person probably was clinically depressed if they're like sitting in dark rooms and like in the middle of the day. And same with your dad, same exact situation actually. And like how untreated, that's going to fuck you up. Undiagnosed and untreated, being raised by your stepfather and not knowing these foundational things are going to fuck you up if you don't.
Absolutely. And then you have to, I think my father did to a large degree in a different way what I did to prop myself up. And for him, he started from nothing, basically had no education. That's the thing I admired about him. And that is what drove me out of the country because, as I said earlier, one of the things I was not going to be was second fiddle. And I wanted to rise and fall on my own merit. And his shadow and his footprint was just too large for me to be able to blossom.
Right.
Same words were parroted back to me by you during college application years. I understood where my father was coming from, and he became successful, and he became the only person in his circle to make some money and have a better living than almost anybody that he knew.
Sure.
And so that became his power.
Right.
And that became his yardstick. He measured everything by money. And that is why I did not hear from him that I'm proud of you till he saw the big house and he saw the second house and he saw the cars and he saw the this and the that. And it's like, I'm the same guy I was back then.
Right. Right. How do you, and I often have this conversation with you because I'm like feeling it in real time. And I feel like I tell them, the boys, I told them what I just said to you, which is like, this is my first time being a mom. And like, there is something that makes your kids like head explode because you're like, huh? Like, and I'm like, doesn't mean I don't know what I'm doing. But when I screw up, I'm going to own my mistakes because I overreact. I mean, clearly I'm always yelling according to my kids, but that's not true.
There may be some truth in that.
There's a little truth in that.
Yeah, just look at it.
Maybe. But seriously, like, I think that by parenting them, it heals all these bits and pieces of myself at the same time. And I'm curious to know if you recall a specific decision or a specific instance where you consciously made a decision where you were like, he would have never done it. He would have never done it like this. But I'm glad because that's healing. Like, I would never say little Christos, but I'm going to say that
there is not enough time for me to enumerate those things. He would have, every time there was an event that a family member needed to come, it would always be, I can't afford to come. I would probably send you X, Y, or Z. I coaxed them with $1,000 to help with their plane tickets while I was still a fresh grad, actually.
I didn't probably have $1,000.
No, I borrowed it from the bank to help with their tickets. And of course, it was not the tickets because it was not just mom and dad. It was mom, dad, sister, brother, my sister's fiance at the time, my godmother, the whole bit, anyway, and these people had to come and they had to have a place to live and they have to have a car to be driven in because...
Are you talking about like a wedding? Like, what are we talking?
Like my wedding to your mother. Had to have certain clothing to wear, all of which was paid by me extra, but I never gave my father the $1,000 and that I had promised to give it to him for the tickets. And he actually cornered me while visiting the home in Greece several years later and asked me of when I'm going to give him that money back.
Wait, what do you mean?
Like I was coming out of the shower and he asked me when he was going to get his $1,000 back.
He had paid it. He ended up paying for.
He paid for the tickets.
Okay, but you had offered.
I offered $1,000.
Yeah,
but the clothing, the housing, the driving, the everything was about $3.
Right. Yeah. Which at that time,
this is $1984. And so at that time, that was kind of an X.
Okay.
And it's like, hey, you promised $1,000. Where's the $1,000? A year later, my sister gets married. I get a phone call from him. You know, your sister is getting married, and I need to know what your present to your sister would be. And the immediate thing was, what the fuck is it of your business? But you see,
how can you contrast that though with how you operated with me?
It was a little bit different. It was a little bit different. It was with you, your college. You know, I told you that I would worry about the money, and you would worry about where you want to go to school and where you can get the best education. Your wedding, it was the same thing. I wanted you to have the best there was, but not throw money away. There was a pretty...
There was an upper limit.
There was an upper limit,
yeah,
which I exceeded by about 50%, but I exceeded it because I wanted to,
sure,
not because you demanded it,
sure,
or you made it so that...
Sure.
I mean, after all, I have one child, one daughter. That's the only daughter that I will give away. And to me, just like I hear every little girl dreams of her wedding day since they begin to walk, I didn't quite dream of giving you away because I was crushed, really
that idea,
crushed by watching the father of the bride, damn be you.
No, we could never.
Steve Martin.
No. We couldn't watch it.
No, we couldn't watch it.
No, it was
because
it was so painful.
I seriously could not watch it. It took, I think I watched it like a year or two after you got married.
Many years after, because there was something, I mean, in the culture, even the idea of giving someone away means like,
that's it.
See you later. We're done.
Yep.
But I mean, we moved down the street from you.
Well, that's not it. I mean, you moved down the street then, but that was never a part and parcel of everything. That you have to be close by.
Right, of course. I mean, no, it was by choice.
1,000 miles away, but you know, that hasn't really impeded
I still talk to you multiple times a day. It's fine. Yeah, but I think where you're going with that is just like you owe me this. I do this for you.
It was always a quid pro quo.
Which is a really tough place to reside.
It shouldn't be in the lexicon of the parent-child communication. If you do not give freely and openly, not extravagantly, but within your means, what it is that you can to your kid, who the hell are you going to give it to?
Right. No, I mean, it's so true. And I think, again, as I'm always analyzing and asking for feedback from my kids, which like, if you don't do that, I mean, that wasn't obviously something that was really done.
Feedback? What's that?
Right. Even between us, but I was very vocal on where I stood at all times.
Yeah.
So I think I was giving it without being asked. Surprise. But I constantly want to know and assess and understand where my kid is, each kid is at any time, and how can I be better? How can I give them whatever they need? And I have this conversation particularly with Tara, my best friend from high school, about how now shifting generations, and now we're like, again, in the same spots that our parents have been, and like assessing, forward and backward. It's like a very mindfucky place to be. Mm-hmm. It's a technical term. That now what we're experiencing is there's this like gap, mm-hmm. and which is normal. It's a generational gap, right? But a lot of us are in a very therapized society, mm-hmm. and that's something that you instituted in my life very early, which I'm super, super grateful for. And in my mind, I have like revisionist history as to how things have how they were and how they've been. And for us in our family, we have ground rules, and open communication is one of them. And that is something that you and I have always had. Now, in my adulthood, I realized that same arena of like having to probe and pull back the layers, that's where I feel like I'm just now in my early 30s realizing that like it's hard for you to say to me, this is bothering me, or like to come to me with an issue. Yeah. I have to be the one to like open the door or throw the wrench at you.
Yeah, all true.
I don't blame you for that, by the way. It's like a learned skill, right? It's like exercising for me.
Yes, it's a learned skill, but it's also the kind of thing that if something bothers me, remember the conversation we've had just a few minutes ago, mm-hmm. that how when the roles not reverse, but they come they oppose themselves, mm-hmm. but the opposite side.
Right.
So when you become the age, of course, that would be not anytime soon, literally not anytime soon, because you may have a breakdown here. So when you become of the age where your kids are adults, mm-hmm. and now you have this conversation with them, and they become parents, mm-hmm. that will make you yaya, make me.
I can't
speak down to your therapist.
I can't.
So seriously, then you begin to think. That's where I am now. Mm-hmm. And you begin to think of, okay, this bothers me. Does it really bother me enough to make a point that will create a conversation, obviously, mm-hmm. and that conversation is going to take away from happy time between her husband, her kids, the whole bit. Can I live with it? And most of the times, every time, I could live with it without really having to swallow hard. The things that I bring up are things that I either...
You bring up?
I've brought up one, and maybe in my mind. They have to come out of your mouth.
They do.
Damn.
Mm-hmm.
So... The times where I have crossed that line, mm-hmm. It was because I feared that unless I cleared up the air, it was going to be misunderstood and take us down in a path that was never intended.
Totally.
So to me, it's more like crisis management. I'm gonna stop the train before it gets off the rails.
Right.
But if it's on the rails and it's going a little bit too fast or too slow, or it has taken a different turn, as long as it's safe and happy, I'm happy.
Right. So I understand that. And I think this is where my revisionist history comes mm-hmm. into play. So in my mind, in our family, we are very open communicators.
Oh, shit.
We talk about things when something's bothering you, and we put it on the table and we squash it. And I realize, actually, that's how Eddie and I operate. And obviously, Eddie is my family. But what I meant was, oh, no, that's how we operate. And then I really realized, no, I operate like that, and you push down.
Yeah.
And that's your generation.
It is the generation. It is the generation. It is the culture.
For sure, culture plays.
People who are my age that come from different cultures.
Totally.
Even American-born
Oh, for
individuals that are generations of generations here.
Totally.
It was not kind of sweep it under the rug, so if it doesn't bother us, we won't touch it.
But kind of.
Yeah, but there are different levels.
Sure, for sure.
You know, if it's dust and it's under the rug, unless you go looking for it, it's not going to happen. Now, if it's something bulgy and it's under the rug, then somebody's going to trip over it.
Sure.
I have not gotten to that, I don't think. But the dust, yeah, plenty of times. Because again, what I have to evaluate in my own head is it worth creating an issue? And if it's worth creating an issue, then I'll do it. But that issue has to have a reasonable endpoint, some outcome that will be better than not addressing it. And that to me, and I'm not saying that this is right. I'm simply saying that is how I managed life through 2 failed marriages and an awful lot of challenges.
Here we go.
Hey.
I mean, we'll talk about those on another time.
Another time. That's different.
This is a whole bunch of podcasts later. But, and this is also where I realized a couple things. I think you've had a lot of crisis management through those divorces, and you've had to compartmentalize each piece, including like the start, your dad, right? I didn't hear about any of this because like it had been pushed down, right? Every divorce, which each one were incredibly traumatic, like eventually, fairly quickly, like went into a library and a vault and the like was thrown away. But each trauma, because all of those were traumatic.
They're scars.
Gashes. And some of them came back like, you know, we broke some legs and the legs didn't exactly grow back together properly. So
I will never say otherwise.
But for me, the way I interpret the like, do I bring this up or do I like, and this is where I was saying, I analyze these things maybe to death, but because I really care about the relationship now, I don't want to go a day where there's, now I'm going to need the fucking tissues, where there's like anything left lingering, because I just experienced my father-in-law and there was a lot of words left lingering. And like, there's nothing that you and I can't get over quickly. Just like Eddie and I, we talk about it. It might be like this, and then it's done and it's over with. I think the more you contemplate, like, do I ruin a happy moment? For me, I'm often just swirling on like, why isn't he bringing this obvious thing up to me and just squashing it in the moment so we can just get over it. And I found I can't, there's like pre and post Eddie life. And I obviously with Eddie life is most recent. And I feel like you've been more careful on like disrupting the peace since I've been married.
No question. No question, because I have seen what happens to a couple when the in-laws have their opinion and voice it
Sure.
and expect it to be not just heard, but accepted and applied.
Sure.
Fuck that. That screwed me up more than anything else, and I'm not going there. That was one of those things that when they were happening to me, I knew exactly that if I ever found myself in that position, or when I found myself in that position, I may do other stupid things, but this is not one of those things that I'm going to do because I know how it feels.
Right.
And there were a bunch of times that I've had this conversation with Eddie.
Oh, yeah.
And you've heard me say that I am not going to do to you what was done to me.
Right.
It is not. Repeating it is not going to get better.
No question. But because of how close we are, it's like...
But see, I know where you're going with this, and here's the point. Because of how close we are, a lot of things get transferred with a smile, with a look, with even the way you breathe sometimes. I can tell.
Oh my God, of course.
But I am not. Look, you're a full-time working mom. You're a full-time working wife. Your husband
gives
is
a fuck. I mean, you were all those things
No. That's maybe now. When you become the parent of two kids who are married, who are working, who have children, you'll remember these words.
I'm sure I will.
And I may be 125, but I will still be there to remind you.
I'm sure you will.
But my thing is that you're busy. Not busy. You're busy, a lot on your mind, a lot on your head, little time. And that time is best spent with the people who are under the same roof, the two children that need you and their dad a lot more than anything else. And my ego and my self-worth is quite a bit intact if I didn't tap on your shoulder and say, this is what's kind of bugging me. Let's just talk about it. If it bugs me long enough, I will.
You won't. You won't.
If I don't, it means that it hasn't risen to that level.
That's not true. That's not true.
Explain.
There are things that have lingered, and or you were reading from me that something's wrong, and you won't you'll be like, you good? I'm like, meow. Like, you always know. But for me, by not just squashing it, it makes me feel alone. Because
I see it.
My person is making themselves emotionally unavailable.
No, that's one thing I will never be for you.
But that's how I take it.
Yeah, I can definitely see it, and I apologize for that.
No, you don't need to apologize for it. It's just, I also understand that you're not trying to disrupt the peace. So, but for me, I'm disrupted because when you and I are off, it's impacting Roman, it's impacting Laurent, it's impacting Eddie because you're a foundational piece of my puzzle. So I'm like, I'm not good. Everyone's not good.
Yeah. No, I get it.
It's not good.
Yeah, I get it.
And I do think, though, I'm so grateful for you being so sensitive to not repeat that thing, because we have had this conversation a lot. To me, it's like nothing between us really is so explosive that it would create so much chaos in my own family.
No.
But by not discussing it, it does, because the person I would normally call is you.
I know that, and I appreciate that. And no, I never saw it this way.
Right.
But now I do.
So now you stop it.
Promise.
I hope so. But I do think, again, it's like a generation thing.
It is
too.
It is a generation thing as much as it is a cultural thing,
and almost an overcorrection.
Oh, definitely an overcorrection. because when you've been hit with something, you're not going to go get hit the same way before you change it because you know what's at the other end of it. So when it looks like a duck and quacks like a duck, you just bail.
Yeah.
And so it is an overcorrection because you correct before it happens.
Right.
And so, and sometimes the best correction is the event has to happen to be corrected because no two events are together, the same every time.
For sure. But I haven't ever found, I mean, maybe I can't say never because I won't put blanket statements, but Eddie and I have almost never felt that you or Juliana are trying to push your ideologies or your whatever onto us because you know that though I'll hear it, I'm also going to just make my own decision. And I'll tell you, I respectfully disagree and this is what I'm doing.
Very true, but that's not the reason why we don't do it. We don't do it because we have absolute trust in your decision making, and behavior predicts behavior, and if you did stupid things in the past, we wouldn't be sitting here talking about a relationship of a father and daughter, but we will have some relationship, hopefully, not this.
Right.
So if all I see is a plethora of decisions that they're all made on sound ground, they may not have been my decisions, but that doesn't make it a wrong decision.
Right.
Then I have no business butting in.
Yeah.
So there are things that I'm
sure it's hard to hold your tongue when you think something, especially
it
because,
is.
Yeah.
But when you had tongues lashing at you, that's when you
What?
No.
I'm like,
in a previous lives.
Okay.
No, not from you. It kind of gets to the point where you say, I'm better than this. I'm not going to do that.
Right. No, I understand that. And again, I'm sure one day I will experience the same thing. And I feel like you have to really be very mindful of how you move because thankfully you and Eddie are incredibly, incredibly close and have a wonderful relationship. Sometimes too wonderful of a relationship for me, to my detriment. I'm joking. No, there's never too much detriment. No, but in all seriousness, because there's trust there, it's very hard for us to feel overstepped at this point. We'll hear you. Oftentimes I'll have a knee-jerk reaction and then I'll come back and be like, I'm sorry. My bad.
But sometimes that knee-jerk reaction is so strong that when I push something down, is to avoid that.
Which is equally fair. Is there an instance that you want to bring up?
No, but...
You made me this way.
Again, I wouldn't want you to be any other way.
Right.
Because you're operating in a world that is very different from the world that I came from and the world that I entered into here. Times are very different. And unless you are a getter, you're going to be gotten. And unless you speak your mind, you'll be bulldozed. And
especially as a woman.
And one thing that I know, I remember every single situation that I would tell you that from a little tyke all the way to now, is that you will never diminish yourself and put yourself in an inferior position because of your sex, because you are a female as opposed to a male. I don't care if you're black, white, or yellow. I don't care if you're male, female, LGBTQ, you name it, it's there. It's not what's outside. It's what's in here and what's in here. And unless those two are in concert, nothing else works.
No, I mean, you really did actually say those things. And again, I think about the fact like that's so fucking progressive, especially given that you grew up in Greece. There's always people always ask me if you were a strict dad. Were you a strict dad?
I was very loving.
Always.
And was I strict? It depends on what the yardstick is. I think I was a clever dad. I think I'm not.
Those are examples for other days.
Yeah, those are for other days. But here's the thing. To this day, I love the moments where I blow your head off with something that I do, something that I've discovered, something that I've done to me in my own development that you never thought it was possible.
Yeah, for sure.
And why? Because your approval matters to me. Because you thinking of me in a certain way didn't stop when you graduated college, when you got married. It will go on forever. And those are things that if you disconnect and you're not on top of things, they leave you. And I would never willingly put myself behind something if I can do better. So was I strict?
I was like, wow, that was a really, really sweet, emotionally strong response of saying,
how did I do?
Excellent.
Thank you.
But you were very strict. And I love and appreciate it so much because I'm actually very strict too. On the things that matter.
That's the things that matter.
That's actually what I remember you always saying to me. Like on the things that mattered, I was very strict. On the things that didn't matter, I was not.
And because if the first word you always hear is no,
right,
you lose track of when no is no,
right,
or no is I don't really care about this,
right,
or no is I don't want to deal with this now.
Absolutely,
they are very different situations, and there were very few lines, very few situations were black or white. Whole lot of gray, and you become masterful at managing that gray, and then the kid that you have opposite you and their own intellect challenges your own and makes it better because it is a meeting of the minds after all.
For sure.
After all,
for sure, I have two that are different versions of me and different versions of Eddie as well. But one in particular, the one that roasted me here.
Yep.
That I think I even said when he was here that I was like,
yep.
If I was even like a fraction of this, I'm so sorry.
You were.
Yeah, no, I'm sure.
All that in a bag of chips. But,
you know,
hey, not only we survived it, we prospered through it.
Yeah.
And
we still talk to each other
every day.
Exactly.
and we get to have this conversation that it isn't just something
gratuitous.
Yeah, you didn't run out of guests and you asked me to join your
No, I've been
podcast.
waiting for you till I got like semi-okay to have you.
And so to me, that's the value. And something I always told you, my philosophy was I never set out to raise a child. I set out to raise an adult. And I've done pretty good.
Yeah, thanks, Dad. I think so too. I mean, I'm so happy that you came. This is going to be the first of many times. Like, we'll probably cry in every single episode or like at least hold back as many tears as possible. But thank you for being here. I love you so much. And
Love you more, baby.
You're the best.
Thank you.
Happy Father's Day.
Love you.
Till next time. Bye.